It's time to mind your business with me, Jamillah Lodge. Tune in to find out how to mind your business with BEDC, special guest entrepreneurs, industry experts, and more. Brought to you by BEDC. Bermuda Business starts here. Welcome to Mind Your Business. I am your host, Jamillah Lodge, and you are Aymori Duncan.
Yes.
And you are the founder of a business called Catch of the Day, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But before we do, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name's Aymori. I've always had an interest in technology and sustainability. I'm Bermudian, but I just moved back from Brussels and before that the UK, so I hadn't been to Bermuda for a long time. And when I came back during COVID, I noticed that there was things changing. There was startups coming up. There was ideas flourishing. And then I thought, you know what? It's actually a good space and a good time and a good just ecosystem for me to actually come back. And I think it was a great decision.
Oh, good. Well, we're glad to have you back. I met you when you were a lot younger.
Yes, you did.
My husband used to tutor you, and it's funny because when you applied to the program, our Enterprise Bermuda program, literally we had a whole conversation over Zoom, and it wasn't until you physically came here and you said something about you were at your dad's office that it clicked, and I'm like, this is Aymori.
Yeah.
Grown man now. A man now. Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of dating myself, but let's get back on track. So you mentioned technology and all of that. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the businesses, because you had two ideas.
Yes, I did.
Let's talk about them both.
Yeah.
So we'll start with the one you're not doing.
Okay, the first one that I'm not doing is going to be more like a online version of a thrift shop.
Okay.
So, and it was based on a app that I saw when I was away called Vinted. So basically, if you have any clothing items that you want to actually sell, then you will just place it online, put a picture, put a description of whether it's worn or torn, how your price that you would actually like, ideally, your approximate location, not your given location, but it will just give an approximate location of where you're at. And then you would just post it online, and then afterwards, people from the island could look into the clothing that they like and say, okay, maybe I want Adidas, or maybe I want Chanel, or maybe I want New Balance. And you could actually find an item that's on the island, see if you like it or not, and then place it for a sale. And the idea was that when you place this item, you can actually have an idea of whether the seller can have an idea of whether they want to meet with the buyer, or if they want to post it off, and that would be their option. So, and then the buyer would actually be able to see, okay, well, I can meet at a current location with somebody that lives close to me, or maybe I just want it delivered straight to my office or straight to my home.
So why aren't we doing that again? Because I'm like an avid thrifter, and I'm like, I have so much stuff, and people have so much stuff that I want. Okay, let's focus on the one that you are doing. But I love that, by the way. We might have to revisit that. Okay.
Well, I'm thinking it could be revisited, but then the principles that I actually have is thinking about the island, the cost of living, community, and sustainability.
Yeah.
So those
are your founding kind of guiding principles.
And when it came to the cost of living, and I saw thrift shops.
Yeah.
There's a community there. I actually volunteer for a thrift shop, not just to actually see what's to just find out about the idea and the price range.
Yeah.
But it was actually just a good source of just being helping out to the community. And when I saw that there was a lot of people that were elderly that were working there, that it gave them a sense of going out into the morning. And not just that, there wasn't really a market price.
Yeah.
So they're just selling items by bulk, rather than actually selling it based on its actual retail value and then pricing it down. Other thrift shops might price it on, okay, it's market value.
Right.
But the main big ones don't.
Yeah,
and that is cutting
down. We're going to talk because I feel like there is application for what you're trying to do, and it would not disturb the existing infrastructure here at all.
Sure.
Because I feel like yours is more in line with curated, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
So it's closer to like a consignment kind of thing where people do take their things and they somebody else is doing it, but there's not really an online interface. It still requires this other entity to do it. So what if I didn't have to do that and I can just go on the app and take a picture, list it, and then you connect me with a potential buyer? So there's application. Anyway, let's talk about catch of the day.
Yeah, catch of the day. Okay, well, I'll just say just an analogy. Have you ever seen food that was said, okay, it just needs to go, and then afterwards it's on a discounted price?
Yes.
Yes. Well, that is the basic analogy of what Cash of the Day is going to be. It's going to be an app where if items are not on their sell-by date, but close to their sell-by date,
yes,
then stores, supermarkets, anything like that can just retailers of foods or restaurants or marketplaces can actually just put it online, and then afterwards they will you can actually see that item, go into the store, put a QR code, somebody's going to scan it, and then from that you can take that item.
Okay.
And then you'll already pay for it, so the process will be easy, simple, and quick.
Okay. So this is for all of the actual current, not restaurateurs, but food sellers to use.
Yes.
So they will be members of the app.
Yeah.
And the app would be available to be downloaded by you and I, who are clients.
Yes.
And the benefit to us is that we will save money.
Yes, it is. It's under my principles of cost of living. So that's the whole purpose. And also sustainability and food waste. Because the World Bank actually stated that Bermuda wastes the most out of any nation in the world. It's crazy.
Because we're so tiny.
Yeah, we're so tiny. But then when it comes to e-waste, when it comes to food waste, we waste a lot. So it's something that I think should be addressed within the island, and I think my app couldn't be a way to actually do it.
So your idea or your goal for starting this kind of business or becoming an entrepreneur, it's almost like social entrepreneurship, right?
Well, it's a bit of both.
Okay.
Because it could be social, but then I would like to make a profit.
Yeah, it's like I still want to make money.
And I think that's kind of the balance between everything. So Bermuda's it's a different market where things are price based. People just put out a price. I've noticed
arbitrarily. They'd be like, yes.
And I think the hardest thing is actually going to websites or going to stores, and then afterwards seeing what prices are and seeing what sales prices are and contrasting that, and then figuring out what the market actually is, which is something I've done.
Yes.
But
so you've done the research.
I've done the research, and but it took a long time for me to actually do that, which is, I think that will be a question later on. But yeah.
Yes. What has been your biggest challenge?
Okay. Well, my biggest challenge right now, because it seems like it's
they change.
They change. I think my first biggest challenge, because I would have, if I was just brave enough and bold enough, but no, in Bermuda, I just thought, well, it's not necessarily brave enough. If I was just running gun-ho and just bulldozing, I would actually have just started this business and not knowing the ecosystem of the island. Could have been sued somewhere. Would have probably wouldn't have applied to BEDC.
Yeah, you just done it.
Just done it, and then just see what happens.
I mean, in Bermuda, we're really not that litigious, so maybe. But being that you have like a background in law, your daddy's a lawyer, and all that stuff, you're like, no, I'm not doing that.
No, it's not gonna happen.
Right.
But for me, I just thought, okay, well, let me understand a bit more about the island since I haven't been back for a long time, and then just figure out what's the market like, who's the stakeholders mainly. Is there any opinions about what product I'm going to be making, and then just getting a proof of concept.
Yeah.
And then from there, actually figuring out what the legal struggles might possibly be before actually pursuing the option. And my struggle now, before my struggle was actually figuring out the market.
Yes.
And I think 70% there. I think the other 30% will be actually launching the app, and then afterwards finding out if I need to set back or scale it a bit or just actually push forward a bit more. So that was my first challenge. And now my challenge is actually when it comes to technology in Bermuda. There's only two payment processes
Yes.
for the island, and it is First Atlantic Commerce
Yeah.
and Authorize.net.
Yes.
And from that, I realized that you can get paid, but you can't pay out unless it's going to be a lot more difficulties.
Yes.
And that is something that I'm figuring out right now. I've noticed that other business models have found ways around it,
Yes.
but I just don't know how, and I'm figuring it out at the moment. So
Right.
that's my biggest challenge.
And I don't know if this will help, but we are trying to build this kind of virtual market for small businesses and vendors where we essentially act as a master merchant. For this reason, because there are only the two, and a lot of times smaller businesses can't afford to have their own. So we're like, well, how can BDC help? So maybe in the interim, this is something that you can use, because essentially they can go through there, we'll collect, and then we will pay them.
Sure.
So I don't know. We'll talk about that afterwards. That's an offline conversation.
Yeah.
But I agree that is a challenge, because coming from, like you said, when you were in the UK, there are so many other kinds of payment processors. You can pay with your phone, and it makes it a lot easier to get money from you to whomever you're working with.
Yeah, you can literally just, somebody says, oh yeah, I owe you money, or I'm gonna pay half for
when
lunch.
you go out to dinner or something, right?
Dinner, and then afterwards you just take your phone, just have a QR code, somebody has it, you scan it, and then afterwards it's done.
The deal is done.
But here, there's nothing like Stripe, there's nothing like Cash App,
Hey, make that. Do that. If you can figure out that, I think that is a huge thing. And I'm hoping that we will have something like that shortly, because if we do, then that can address that challenge that you're having, right?
Sure.
So, okay, now you're in our Enterprise Bermuda program, right? And you said when you came back, talk a little bit more about your reasons for applying, and then what you found, what's been beneficial for you.
Okay, I think I can, because it's on the top of my head first,
Yeah.
talk about what was beneficial.
Okay.
There was a lot of things that I didn't know. For example, I could have researched it, and then I have to do it anyway, but the tax system in Bermuda, when it comes to payroll tax, or because I'm used to just going into an employer, and then afterwards they just take whatever amount, which is
Half your money.
Half your money. But here it's a bit more tricky.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that BDC actually explained that to me. Accounting practices, which I knew somewhat anyway, but then applying it to Bermuda, I think the most essential thing was finding out about the APIs and technology and payment process. That it's a problem, but at least I recognized that before actually possibly going to PayPal or Stripe, and then afterwards just having my app just completely locked off.
Yeah.
Which could have been a possibility. And then also figuring out just based on some of your seminars, the market prices, and maybe what price you should actually put your business at, so that you can be profitable, and also you're selling something that's of value to the public as well. I think that was very, very, it was essential. It was things that I wanted to know, and then it's things that I actually found through the BDC.
Right. Well, great. That must mean we're doing something good. So we're doing something right. I'm happy to hear that. So when you came back, like you said, relocated, it was during COVID. Or just after COVID. Just after COVID. And you saw the program.
Yeah.
So you came with these ideas, right?
Yes.
And so I guess for you, well, I don't want to speak for you. Why did you apply?
Well, I had these ideas in general anyway, and I do have a background in coding, but then I realized through the BDC as well that sometimes having a hat of being operational compared to actually looking at the back end and just trying to make the business function through coding, it probably won't work. And if you can actually afford to just do things operationally from the start, it will be a lot easier on you. Mm-hmm. So it's something that I had to learn through the process, but I'm glad that I learned that sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you stuck around and went through the process, because I know coming back, you also have a full-time job, right?
Well, it's consultant basis.
Oh,
so
cool.
Because of that, it is pretty full-time. However, it's based on what you need to do in a task and what you need to accomplish.
Got you.
Sometimes, which is unfortunate, looking at the 9 to 5 and how to actually operate, sometimes I'll need to focus a lot more on the work, because you have to pay your bills.
Yes.
And then other times I have time to actually go and then work on the business, and it's a give or take. You don't really know.
Yeah, it is. It's very true. And I think when you're launching or starting your own business, especially if you're doing it from scratch, basically, you're building this out from scratch, you don't really know how much time it's going to take. So is it your intent to build the app yourself, or how are you going to do it?
No, before I was thinking about building the app myself. I think one thing that immediately made me think I need just to help with some other vendors was looking at the way that Bermuda uses First Atlantic Commerce and Authorize.net. Either I'll have to find a legal solution, or probably make a custom-made code that could possibly crash.
Okay.
And that, I thought, I can't trust myself doing that. The reason, and if you're coding something and you go through the process, if you have a wrong semicolon, it can crash.
Yeah, that's true.
Or you might not have the solution at a certain time, and then afterwards you're looking on the internet in different sites called like Stack Overflow or just any forum just to find the answer.
Yeah.
And it could take hours to weeks.
Right.
So I thought this could, with something that has to be tailor-made and custom-made, I shouldn't be doing it.
He said, let me outsource it.
Yeah.
Let me outsource it. And I think that's a good point, too, because sometimes I think, as an entrepreneur, they say you have to do all the things. You have to be the CEO, the CFO, the COO, the CMO, all the O's, right? Yeah. But I feel like in some instances you have to accept where maybe you don't know, and then you look for someone or look for a partner or look for expert to fill that gap for you, because time is money, right?
It is. It really is.
So while you're trying to look online and figure out the solution, somebody could do it for you that way.
And then when it comes to just coding as well, sometimes there could be just a new code that just changes the game.
Yeah.
I mean, look at how ChatGPT's actually happened, and when it comes to
tell ChatGPT to build it. Be like, ChatGPT, build me an app that write the code for this app.
They actually they are looking into it now. So when it comes to codes, you still have to have the idea, but ChatGPT, I think it can improve code rather than actually write it itself.
Oh, okay.
So
I don't know. We should try.
There are YouTube videos where people are writing code and they're comparing it to ChatGPT, and then afterwards, sometimes, I mean, nobody's perfect, but sometimes there's some rules that they have, and ChatGPT might improve on top coders. Who knows?
Yeah, you never know. So, okay, and an ideal scenario for you with Catch of the Day.
Yeah.
What do you have to do now, right? Now that you're going to focus on this idea, where are you, I guess, in the process of actually making this a reality?
Well, at the moment, I've actually done the research, found the proof of concept, looked at, created the specs of it. So basically the UX, user experience, user interface of it, and then afterwards, I was midway coding it, and I thought, let me hand this off to a designer. So, to a coder in outsourcing it. So it was a tough decision, but I'm glad that I did it. But before actually just allowing it to run through, I realized, okay, I really need to sort out the payment process.
Yeah.
And it's an essential part of the business.
Yes.
So things, they are often take a little bit of time, but then I think that rushing forward and not having the concept completely concrete is it could lead to problems.
Okay.
So if I'm able to do that, then I'll have my first MVP, and then just minimum viable product, and then I'll be able to see what more I can actually do.
So in terms of getting the stores to take it up, like what does that process look like for you? Because could you, while the app is being built, start having these conversations with the potential, because if they're not listed, right, then...
Yeah, well, I think that it would be better from... Well, I have had I have had conversations to see if the idea is viable.
Okay.
However, what I would actually like before I just go full on, is to have a minimum viable product.
So they can see.
So that they can actually see. And I think once you actually have that tangible thing, and then afterwards you realize how it could be a game changer for the market, then you just think, okay, of course.
So the goal is that the stores will be able to say, yes, this stuff in 2 days or whatever is getting ready to go off.
Yeah.
But people don't know. So sometimes we just have to throw it away because people don't know.
Yeah.
Right? That's the intent.
Well, that is it's not necessarily that it's going off. The point is
the sell by date.
The sell by date.
That's
and there's actually a difference, because
yes, that is true.
When a sell by date, it's still consumable.
Yes.
For a while afterwards, depending on where you imported or exported it from. However, there's a difference between the sell by date, where it can be on the stores, and when you can actually eat it, consume it. And I think if that distinction is the difference between having a lot of food waste and having a little food waste.
Let me ask you this. Do you think, especially since you mentioned at the start of our conversation about the statistic that we waste the most, like of any nation, do you think that there's an educational component on the consumer side that needs to happen? Because I think maybe, like I said, that's the go off date, but it's not the go off date.
Yeah.
It's the sell by date.
Yes.
And they're two different things.
They are.
So do you think that perhaps consumers don't realize that, and they think, oh, well, it says it's the date's gone past, so I can't consume?
I think that's going to be part of my marketing campaign. So,
yeah.
Yeah. So that's when I thought about marketing. That is one of my main focuses, to actually communicate that.
Yeah, because I do think it is education. You know, we have the expiration date on medicine and everything, and medicine is not cheap.
No.
And so it's like, but no, that's you can still use it for a period of time, but understanding what that period of time is.
But when it comes to medicine, I would probably advise you to get advice from your doctor beforehand.
Listen, this is the legal coming out. He's like, look, you're not finna get me hemmed up.
Yeah.
He's like, we're talking about bread. And we're talking about... I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
But no, I think what you're saying is true, though, because money is not growing on trees.
No.
The cost of living has increased. The cost to get goods on the island is certainly increased. And so from the vendor or a retailer's perspective, I would expect that they will want to try and sell as much of the stuff as they can before they have to dispose of it.
Of course.
And then from my perspective, I would like to buy it for as cheap as I can.
Yeah.
But I still want to make sure that it's safe.
Yes, safe, and then also that it's an easy process as well.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, I'm thinking like when you go into the stores and you see the stuff with the red stickers, I'm going to use red. And then you see, oh, okay, well, that's because today it's...
Well, I think that...
Sell by date.
I think that if you have a stall that just says, okay, cash of the day there within your restaurant, or just a little section, or maybe you just asked, depending, it depends on how the store or the restaurant wants to set up.
Yeah.
Then also that you know that it's close to a location that you're close to at the moment.
Yeah.
So those are the unique selling points.
Okay.
So, for example, if you think, oh, maybe I would have got Chinese, but then, oh, okay, well, the marketplace has something that's actually going to be going off cheap in this hour, so maybe I should just go there now. It could just influence your decision as well.
Okay. All right. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah. So, okay. Well, you said you've done your research, so I'm excited to see when it all comes together. But if you could pick a date.
If I could, because I was really on the other idea, and that was going to be.
We might have to come back to that idea.
That was going to be on September, but then I think if I could, it would be January 2024.
Okay, and that's still quick to me in my mind to go from 0 to like a full on app and all of that is.
Well, things are lined up.
Yeah,
it's just getting that viable product, and I'm still not sure. Because I think most of it will be able to be completed without any finance, but I'm still not sure if I'm going to have go for investment or not, or if where I would actually like to take it in that sense.
Okay. Well, there's time for you to figure that out, right? Because you still have to look at the cost to build the app.
No, I've already found that out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so, that's something.
Yeah. It's something because I've already learned about coding, so I know what it
should be.
What it should be, and then also how long it will take. So I've already went into those questions, so that's not a problem in itself.
Okay, look at you. I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see what happens. Okay, so from being in the Enterprise Bermuda program, we talked about the challenges. We talked about some of the benefits. What would you say has been the best part of being in the program so far?
Well, I think I highlighted it because there are events and stuff, and they are nice.
Yeah.
But what I really think the best part of it is if you have questions about before starting up a business, and you wonder if it's gonna be if it's gonna work or not, and if you just need to trim it down some way or another way, that you can possibly find the answer of BDC if you're seeking it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll take that.
Because I think what you want is for you have no idea, and then after you think, okay, I'm confident,
now
and then I can actually get my business up and running. I think that's the whole purpose of BDC. So I think so far, I think about 70%, I found it out. The other 30% will be stuff that I'll need when I end up
once you
launching
get
a business.
to there. Okay.
Yeah. So
the other thing I think that is important to note is, like you said, you came in with 2 ideas.
Yeah.
And so it's okay to switch, right? It's okay when you're going down a road and you're like, okay, well, these are the reasons that I don't think this will work. So I'm going to go and refocus my energies on here. And for us, I can just speak for one of the reasons why we created the program or the incubator is to give people time to do that, and hopefully the expense not, that you don't have to bear that expense alone, right? Like some of the things that you have to go through to get to the point of whether or not you need to pivot. Hopefully we can take away some of that financial burden.
Yes.
So you can get there and be like, oh, okay, no, I need to switch and pivot. And then you can still, go along the journey.
Yeah, because by just doing a gun-ho, it's going to be a lot more costly.
Yeah, you would. And then you'd be like, oh, that didn't work, but I already spent $10,000 building an app, dang it. And now somebody's suing me. But no, I feel like in Bermuda, like I said, we're not as litigious. So I think we can get away with a little bit more. But I also think because it's such a small community, it's like the perfect ground to try something.
I would actually think it is in some ways, and in other ways it's not.
Well, tell me why.
And the reason why is because Bermuda is very compliance orientated.
Yes, that is true.
And because of that, there's a lot of things that other places can actually just do that Bermuda can't, and you have to think about things on a level of the reinsurance and money laundering and whether the cash is actually coming through legitimate means.
Yes.
So because of that, there's a lot more safeguards and checks that actually take place than you would actually have in other economies and places.
Oh, okay. That's good and bad, right?
It's good because it's what props Bermuda's economy up, but then it's bad for startup businesses.
For creatives and startups. Yeah, where you need to try it. That iterative process is what actually helps you to figure out whether or not it's a go.
If you're not actually in that other world, then you don't understand why these holdups are actually happening.
Right.
So
yeah, that's true. Well, we still got stuff to work on. Dang it.
Look, you can't have it all.
You can't have it all, but you can work towards it. And I think that's part and parcel of the process. It's like once you recognize that these are the challenges, it's like, well, how can we create a solution, right, that alleviates this barrier and that sort of thing. So that's the journey that we're on. And getting feedback like that from you and from others who participate in our various programs are why we have a lot of the things that we have started, or why we are like, okay, well, we need this now, and now we need this. So when you figure out that payment, please, we have been begging for that kind of support for as long as I've been here at BEDC, and I feel like I'm a piece of the furniture by now. But remember, I said that my husband tutored you.
Yes.
That's how old I am. I'll let y'all figure that out. Yeah. No, it's been good hearing kind of your thought process about how you approached the different businesses, because I do think, even though you said, you could have just gone full ahead, so many people do that. They just go full steam ahead, and then they have to backtrack a bit. So hearing the process that you went through, it's almost methodical, right? About this is your step 1, step 2, step 3. And now this is where you've arrived, right? We're at Catch of the Day. But we're going to talk about
yeah.
Because I'm like, I want that app.
and
too.
Yeah, and I think that app, I mean, it's a possibility, but I think I would probably need somebody else on board
to make it happen.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily about the it wouldn't be just cutting down the cost of living. It would actually have to be a luxury type of.
I see what you're saying.
And because of that, it's not really on my ethos now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying.
My ethos is Bermuda's expensive.
Yeah.
And people are generally when it comes to stuff like electricity prices, when it comes to food prices, when it comes to rent prices, you just think, okay, immediately anything that will actually help.
That's what you want.
That's what I want to actually do at the moment. So
okay, all right. But we might have another conversation. Maybe there's some.
But later on, if I just get that that medal, just there, then
maybe,
or maybe because of this interview and this process, somebody else thinks, maybe I can actually do that.
Yeah, and that maybe that's your partner, right? You focus on that.
I'm saying not even that, or maybe somebody from the public. Who knows?
Okay.
I mean, it's out
We're
there.
gifting ideas here, people.
But for me, I know what my core aims, values, and focuses are on now. Yeah. And later on, I'll be able to see.
I love that. Well, listen, Aymori, this has been great. I've enjoyed our conversation. I've enjoyed hearing your thought process and where you are. And I'm looking forward to Catch of the Day becoming a reality, because trust, people will be thanking you, right? Okay. People will be thanking you.
Hopefully.
I think so. Why wouldn't they? If I can keep a little bit more money in my pocket to go buy some vintage clothes.
Yeah. Sure.
No, seriously. It's been great having this conversation with you. I want to thank you for coming on Mind Your Business.
You're welcome. Glad to do it.
And remember, if you don't mind your business, who will? Thanks for tuning in to Mind Your Business with me, your host, Jamillah Lodge. Tune in next week, Thursday at 4 p.m. because if you don't mind your business, who will? Mind Your Business is brought to you by BEDC. Bermuda Business starts here.